Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lorie Jones, president of Fidelis Wealth Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Good morning, Fearless Females. I am so excited to get to share this guest with you today. We are talking to Gordana Slepcev. And the thing that I loved most was her story. It is fascinating. She started it in Serbia in mining. And just listening to the experiences that she's had and the things that she's done, where she's made it to, how she's moved up and taken advantage of the opportunities that she had, and just listening to her advice about trusting your gut, making good decisions. I loved my conversation with her, and I really, really hope you guys enjoyed this one. So let's get started. Good morning. So we are here today with Gordana Slepcev. She is the Chief Operating Officer of Lomiko Metals. And I love this. She said to make sure and remind you she is also a professional mother, wife, and daughter. And I love that. I'm sure we'll get into that with the questions. But thank you, Gordana, for coming and sharing your story with us.
You're welcome. I'm very happy to be here today and, share my experience as a woman and a leader, and hope get some inspiration or help some other women on their own journey.
I agree. That's always the goal. And I love that we have so many women willing to share their journeys and help just a little bit to inspire or guide or mentor those young women just starting in the industry. So the first question I always ask is, I'm a reader. I love reading. What is your favorite book?
Yeah, I have to go and grab the title and the book, but it's basically a quick and talks about, your first impressions within first few minutes about the people, situation, everything else are the right impressions. And, talks about our gut feel and sense and unconscious decisions we make based on information we first see, and how actually that's all right, to trust your gut and everything else. And I read that probably about 15, 20 years ago, and I had a aha moment when I realized, okay, well, it's fine. And, sometimes we suppress certain things as a woman where we trust our gut, like saying, oh, I don't feel comfortable with that. It's okay. It's okay. Opened up a new dimension for me. I think it helped me out in professional and personal, life to kind of overcome some situations and, feel fine about my decisions.
I think that's interesting because a lot of times, in fact, there's a book that I just read, which is Don't Trust Your Gut. And I think that's funny that it was all about like how, if you have the learning behind it, then it makes sense to trust your gut. But I've always kind of felt that way, Gordana. I've always felt like you should trust, that voice inside of you that's telling you to go one way or another, and that you kind of rely on that sometimes, both professionally and personally.
I think it makes sense because, we all accumulate experiences, good and bad. And then all of us are a little bit different. Some are more extrovert, some more introvert. And if your first reflex is not to do something, then you shouldn't. And then think about it and come back if you have opportunity, of course. But yeah, I think that's okay,
So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get where you are today? And what do you do? That sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm Serbian, and my husband and I, we immigrated to Canada in 2003 with 2 kids. So I'm a mining engineer, and I'm born and raised in the mining town. So I love the mining. That's how I got into that entire business. I saw the benefits that actually mining can bring to the communities, the regions, and everything else like that comes with it. And of course, Canada as a mining country, it's a lot of projects. It was really a good place for us to move in and grow and live in. So we lived and moved all across Canada from the east to the west coast, central, and then really stationed in the last few years, basically in Toronto. And our kids are now grown up, so that's a bit different. And then, we're always open to kind of new experiences. My husband's also a mining engineer, so we met at the university. So that's kind of my story. And then growing and working through these different companies and the projects, I have got the opportunity to have a great mentors and people that actually believe in me and give me these opportunities to actually grow and take on these different responsibilities. So I'm really happy and grateful for that. And, it's just that the advice really for young ladies is find the mentors and find your really people that will support you and guide you through your career.
So you were an engineer coming into the mining industry. And do you work in all sorts of, or did you ever work in a mine, like a coal mine or a...
Yes. Actually, I'm born in the region in Serbia where the coal mining is predominant for power production. And then, so I worked in BC in the metallurgical coal mines. I worked in Newfoundland in gold, in Northern Ontario in potash, and also had projects in Nova Scotia. I worked in the projects in Newfoundland, in Labrador, iron ore. So I worked and lived all across the country. So I have that operational hands-on experience. And I sometimes tell to the junior people, I know how long it takes to do that job because I did it.
That's so interesting. My husband actually worked in a coal mine in Rock Springs, Wyoming for a year or two during the recession when we were out of one job and between jobs for a while. And it's really fascinating. If you've never seen it, it's fascinating how they get coal out of the ground. It's like they have these huge machines and they go through and like dig coal and they're in tunnels and you go down in elevators to go in tunnels. That is super interesting. And I like that you said that you came up through the ranks, so to speak. So what the jobs entail and probably gave you a little bit more understanding or compassion when people were going through those jobs. You know how long the job should take, but sometimes the job takes longer than the supervisor thinks it takes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with the younger people is just what people really look into them is that drive and enthusiasm to do the job. Like, people are going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. I mean, it's normal. And it just depends on how willing people are to do the job and learn, especially for younger, men and women in the industry. Doesn't really matter. I mentor and helped all of them. And, the thing I've learned is you just stay true to yourself.
I like that. So, Gordana, what is the best investment you've made in yourself through your journey? Is there something you can look at and say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I did that because if I didn't, I just wouldn't be where I am today?
Yeah, I really like that I finished, it's a recent accomplishment, certification as a candidate for directorship, so certified board candidate. And give me a little bit different dimension and different look on the view on running the corporation and everything else. Even though I've been in the senior roles, in the C-suite roles for a while. So, yeah, that's something that I really want to pursue a little bit more actively as I move towards, my later lives in my career, because I think I can contribute quite a bit to the mining industry and the sector. So that's the goal. That's to really, once I kind of retire from my full-time job, is just start helping other companies get where I was or where I am now, just get to develop their own companies and the properties further.
I like that.
Because, I mean, we'll need a lot of minerals. And the thing with the mining, the humans were mining like since the dawn of civilizations, because they needed tools, and even the flint, it's the rock that they made the first tools. And then as we get more sophisticated and looking into that bronze and iron age, we needed the metals to actually do the things and develop where we are now. So it's an integral part of our human civilization and human development. And it's going to be like, we look all these journeys to decarbonize, to decrease greenhouse gases, and, critical minerals are critical and vital for human society. So we need those. Some other ones maybe less, but there are minerals and materials we really need. And, we also shouldn't forget about circularity and recycling and reusing these minerals in everyday's life.
How did you get from actually working in the mines to this, C-suite position that you've been holding? How do you get between? That's hard.
Yeah, I guess you really need support from the companies you work on, and they should be able to recognize the talent. And most of the companies actually grow and recognize as you move and do at the different projects. As I moved through my career, was then promoted from the manager to VP and then COO position as the company grew as well. So,
what is the worst advice you've ever been given? And did you take the advice, or did you not take it? Did you learn from it?
So the worst advice was just to push where you don't really feel comfortable. You should push, because sometimes things can break. And, my learning from there, and that was kind of like confirmed many times after, is just like, go with your gut feel. If you don't feel comfortable making decision today, sleep on it. So don't push if you're not comfortable with pushing. So
I see. Yeah. So they said, just make a decision, just push it through, just move forward. And that sometimes that doesn't feel right.
No. And my advice is, sleep on it. If you have some major decisions to make, sleep on it.
See if you still feel the same way in the morning.
That's right. Take time.
What about regrets? If you look back or you think through your journey, are there things that you're like, ooh, if I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have done that the same way? And how would you have changed the situation?
I really can't say I have many regrets, not in professional way, at least. Some things, you learn as a mother, as a wife, and as a daughter. There are a few things I would have done differently if I known or assessed the situation differently, and maybe would save some sort of time in getting to certain points, to say that way. But in the professional way, I'm really happy with what I've done, the roles I've taken, worked and lived in different parts of Canada, made a lot of friends, and, had all these different experiences. I really love that piece of my professional life. And who knows, maybe we'll do some different things as these projects that we work on. Maybe I'll move to Montreal. Who knows? Like, there are certain things that are good there, and I kind of enjoy that journey. But personally, I wish I've taken a little bit more time with my older son and advised him a little bit different. When you look back and say, well, I don't know. There is really no handbook on parenting.
I wish there was. If they could send you home from the hospital with a big, thick book that tells you what to do in every single situation, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Just my younger son, he's in the software developer. And now I'm thinking, as we're reflecting on it, should actually create an app for young parents. Do's and don'ts.
I love it. But the problem is these kids, they come with their own unique challenges. Every single one of them is different. So the software development would take him a lifetime, probably.
I'm just a little bit joking, but yeah.
For sure. So what about if you could go back to the beginning of your journey and talk to your younger self? Is there some advice you would have for her? What would you tell her?
Yeah, I just, be patient. That's one thing I'm not really good with. And of course, we're all adults, and you reason with yourself that you have to wait on few things is just to learn earlier in my career to be more patient with things, people, situations, that kind of stuff. So
that's, really good advice. I actually am not very patient. It's probably one of my worst failings. I always want things to happen right now. So
yeah, me too.
how would you develop that patience, or how would you do that? Like, I don't even know how to do it.
Yeah, I think is a kind of reasoning with yourself that if you push it too much, it's not good. You just give it some more time, talk, and, wait for it, because people work at different pace. Because I might be fast, I'm quick, but not everyone is quick. And to be fair to them, to give them opportunity, just give them more time. Just come on, remind yourself all the time. Okay, well, that needs more time,
That's really insightful, I think, because you do sometimes forget that other people work on different, maybe they don't love finance as much as I do and spend 12 or 15 hours a day doing it. So you give them a little bit more space.
Yeah. Because everybody works differently and the different pace, different ways they accomplish the things. But at the end of the day, they do accomplish, they come to the same or similar conclusions. Just give them time. And then that would actually work better on relationships and mentoring and everything else. It's just, supporting people more.
Yeah, I found that sometimes even you giving them time or having that patience, like some situations that you think are dire or really difficult to navigate through, they kind of work themselves out if you just can watch it happen. It's hard to watch it happen. It's honestly the same skill you use as a parent sometimes.
Yeah.
You watch them make the bad decision, you watch them go through the consequences of the bad decision, and it works itself out in the end. And they learn that was a bad decision, or conversely, a good one, and they work themselves through that.
Yeah, I agree.
What about, was there anything that scared you the most when you started on your journey? I just can't imagine working down in the mines. Like, this is a fascinating thing for me, but is there anything that scared you when you started on your path? And does it still scare you, or did you learn how to deal with it?
Yeah, I think maybe I'm a bit different than other people. I'm not scared about the working in the mine. I really enjoy going down there. I enjoy talking with people, sharing experiences, that kind of stuff. I think that the biggest scare in my life was that I'm going to stay at the same position and not advance my career. That was my biggest scare, to be honest, and not accomplish all the goals I had. That was my biggest worry.
So how did you was there like a tactic you used? You said you kind of worked your way up through the ranks and did a good job, but like there's lots of people that do a good job and they just don't, they don't get seen. So is there a...
Yeah, I think it's important. It's hard, perhaps, if you work in very, very small organizations. But as I said, usually you have your performance reviews, you have your goals and everything else. People set this as they go through career. And as you work through your HR, your supervisor, I think it's really important that you point out your goals. I want to be promoted. And then, these opportunities come along because people get retired or people move on other roles or other organizations. So when the time is right, you get promoted. And, if people really see that you're doing good job, that's going to happen. But if you just wish to be there and you don't really vocalize that, you might be missed. And, sometimes it's really hard. Maybe out of 50 people, 20 want to be promoted, right? And, supervisor can promote only one. So, I'm not advertising changing the companies, but, that's sometimes that people do or have to consider if that's really your goal. So, and I think it should be considered because after a certain time, and now again, depends on people, right? Doing the same role all over and over and over again becomes monotone in my mind. Anyway, that's why maybe I have changed the roles and sometimes the companies, but also in the mining, it's really tough to stay with one organization for a long time because the mines, they don't last forever. They have limited mine life and circumstances, and sometimes the commodity prices go down, so the mines get put on care and maintenance. So certain things that, one have to vocalize what they wish to do, and localize it to supervisors and, put that in your goals and the plans and talk about it. And, then you have some internal postings, apply for it.
So I like what you said about vocalizing, because I think that works across the board. I think that there's a study somewhere that says that in general, and this is changing, but in general, men will ask for what they want and women don't. And a lot of times that means women don't get what they want, or, the supervisor has in mind, hey, so-and-so wants this. So
yeah, they will consider it. I mean, at the end of the day, they want what's the best for corporation and the business. And, if you're ready and they find that you are, then you'll get your opportunity for sure. But it's important to say so, vocalize and mention and whatever. Be out there.
Gordana, did you face any challenges because you were a woman as you were going through your journey? And is there any advice that you would give?
I think it's just, and this is easy to say, but hard to do, is just trust in yourself, and if you feel like you should speak. Say what you mean, because sometimes it's easy to get pushed away or your advice get pushed away. Stick to it and be persistent. If you believe that that's the right thing to say or to do or suggest, then, support that by the evidence. It's just, you can't say, I want that because I want that. No, I want that because this is good for this, and resolves this, and that, right? So you have to be, having it, facts behind.
It sounds like you were willing to stand up for yourself, like all throughout your career. That's kind of the impression I'm getting, is just that you're willing to stand up, speak out, say what you need, what you want, what you need.
Yeah, I think it's important how you do it. I found that in my career, sometimes we women get brushed away because we're found aggressive. But, you don't have to yell to be heard. As long as what you're saying makes sense, people are going to take it. It's just if you may be too aggressive or say it in a, confrontational way, people tend to disregard. So if you come and say it in very calm voice, and, people are going to listen.
I think that's right. That it's important to... I've been told a couple of times that I need to find my voice. And for me, that means like saying things, and sometimes I want to keep the peace, or I don't want to rock the boat.
That's, I guess, internal to most of the women. We want to keep it nice. And sometimes you just have to trust your gut.
I like that. Gordana, what is the thing you are the most proud of?
Well, I guess the most thing that I'm most proud of professionally and personally is really having time to enjoy and watch my kids grow and slowly become professional people. So, and also I'm really proud that I really had that opportunity to live a professional career I had. I fought for myself and I got what I wanted at the end of the day. And that's something that I would kind of recommend to many other women. If you're not getting what you want from the organization you work for, you should consider other options. That's simple as it is. Find your champions and find the people that are going to support you, mentor you, advise you, and everything else. And sometimes it's just you're not ready. You think you're ready, but you're not ready, and, it's good to have somebody else you can talk about and bounce back ideas and everything else. Because at certain points in my career, I've wanted certain things, but then as the time passed, I realized I actually wasn't ready at the time. Yes, I wanted it, but I wasn't ready. But yeah, it's just, as you mentioned, find your voice, do what you believe it's right, and find the support that you need to get where you want to get.
Yeah. How did you get ready? I guess is that you just found supportive people that helped you, or did you go to college, or did you like read a book? Like, how did you get ready for those opportunities when you found that you weren't in a place where you were ready, but you wanted to be?
Yeah, so you do some trainings, you read the books, you actually research what you want to do, how you want to do it, you understand cons and pros. And I think that's where it comes. Like I'm a kind of like scientific person, an engineer, so I do all the research, good and bad things, and then see what I want. Because, something that people don't talk much about is as you go through these senior roles, that takes toll on your personal life as well. And takes away your weekends, and you have to be working at the night and early in the morning and all of that. So you kind of have to see if that's really what you want at the end. And I know some women that actually pulled out from the CEO positions because it was taking too much on them. Like, it's just too much requirements on the personal life. So, research and make sure you actually do what you want to do. It's right for you. And it's fine if it's not. It's okay to change.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that sometimes you look at these things and you're like, "Ooh, I want to do that." But when you start looking beneath the surface, that requires a lot of sacrifice in these areas. And you don't want to sacrifice those areas.
Yeah.
So you might not really want to do this. You might change your trajectory to do something a little different.
Yeah. That's the same thing. As I said, learn to be patient and to wait. It's the hardest thing. And in some cases, I waited until the kids were a little bit older to do certain things and be more away from the family and travel more for work. So, yeah, everybody has to assess what actually works for them, what they want to do, because it's okay to spend time with the family and be a mother. I kind of hate that I have to say that now and this time and age. But sometimes we women feel pushed that we have to do it all. We don't. See what works for you.
Yeah, that's really important, I think, to understand that if it doesn't work for your lifestyle, that you can change and make a life that works for you and that makes you happy. And
exactly.
I'm kind of a engineering mindset. I'm very analytical. So I probably would have my list of like pros and cons for absolutely everything.
Yep.
So any advice, Gordana, for a young woman who is just starting out on this journey that you are so successful at? Is there anything you would tell her or any advice that you would give her as she's trying to make her way through this path?
Yeah, make 10-year and 20-year plan. What do you want to do? How you want to do it? And then, find support. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be colleagues, it could be even work supervisors and everything else. And, just talk with people, get their experiences. And, if that's really what you want, push for it.
I like that idea. And I think that it's underrated how important it is to just reach out and say, "Hey, tell me about your experience. Give me some insight." It's the entire reason I do, Fearless Females, is to kind of get that insight from someone who's already been through the journey so they can say, "Ooh, I didn't even know I could work in a mine. I didn't even know I could work my way up and be in the C-suite in the mining industry." So I think that's important to provide those examples. So if I have a listener that wants to get in touch and ask more questions or just hear a little bit more about your journey, how do they reach out?
The best thing is to reach through LinkedIn, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I will put that link up in the show notes. And I really appreciate your time today, Gordana. It's been just fascinating getting to know your journey. Thank you so much for doing this.
You are welcome. Glad I could help.